Hi, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to do an in-depth walkthrough of TURANGALILA. It's a 2018 75E. We've only built a couple of 75s. For those of you familiar with the product, we used to build something called a 78E and a 72E. And this is not unlike that in its overall dimensions and its beam. It's a 20.5-foot beam, typically built as 3 or 4 staterooms, and about a foot wider than the 70s that are currently being produced, and about 2 feet wider than a 58 or an older 70. So it's a pretty large boat. It's a little bit narrower than an 80E. I think it's a really nice size for that person that really wants maybe one crew. I do have owners that have run these successfully by themselves, but typically I find it's a couple that just wants one guy to run the boat, and that's the case here. As is often the case, this boat tends to be here for the winter and go somewhere else during the summer. And there's a local captain that sleeps in his own bed in his own house a lot of the time, almost all the time. And he comes and checks on the boat and manages the boat. So we call that more of a day captain scenario than what you would see in a 150-foot mega yacht or a full-time crew's living on board. In this size yacht, I find very often you have a younger captain who's very competent, and he mainly looks after the boat, and it's amazing how a good guy like that can avoid a lot of retail maintenance costs. So a good guy will really pay for himself pretty well. This 75, it's 2018. This owner goes to Ocean Reef. He goes to the Bahamas. He goes up to Hilton Head, really a southeast cruiser, so not a ton of hours on the boat. Exceptional performance. We've got 1800 C32s in here, and this boat cruises anywhere between 22 and 26 knots. I've personally done 31 knots in this boat when it was new. I think Bob told me that it did 30 knots in his last sea trial after he did a bottom job. So very fast boat, still very efficient, doing 9, 10 knots, lots of range. A couple things up here on the bow I wanted to talk about. One is, a lot of people ask me about, why do you have 2 anchors? It's good to have a spare anchor in case you snagged one and had to leave it behind. But another thing that's really important is, you notice how different those shapes are. So this anchor here is very pointy, and this pointy anchor will dig into the sand really quickly. This anchor here is more like a scoop, like an ice cream scoop, and it'll hold a bunch of mud really well. So imagine if I put this pointy anchor in soft mud, it would want to pull through. And if I put this really blunt anchor here on hard sand, it might just want to bounce along. So the idea of having 2 different anchors is having 2 different options on what kind of bottom you're anchoring on. Another thing I want you to notice here is that we're bow into the slip. Quite often, for privacy reasons or just the view out the back, it's nice to flip the boat around. And all Marlows have the ability to plug in shore power in the bow. In this case, we've got a 100 amp cord and a 50 amp cord. And once we get beyond about somewhere around 65, 70 feet, we find that the air conditioning size gets so big that if you just put the air conditioning on one cord, it can exceed 50 amps. And it's better to have an option to have a 100 amp cord, because with a 100 amp cord, now of course, the air conditioning could draw 60, 70 amps all by itself, and then I can run the house on the rest. If I have a boat like a 58, it's fine to have 2 50 amp cords, because I'm never going to exceed the 50 on the air or on the house. But as the boats get bigger, it gets more necessary to be able to run in excess of 50 amps on one cord. And that's what we have here. So you'll notice here I have a 100 amp cord. And the way we have the boat set up right now is the chiller system and all the air conditioning is on the 100 amp cord, and the rest of the boat's on the 50 amp cord. This allows you the most flexibility. Now, when he's traveling, if he was up in Boston, he may find that of course he doesn't need 150 amps. He's not running a ton of air conditioning. He could just run on the 100, or he could step the 100 down to a 50 and run 2 50s. So this 100 amp and the 50 amp really gives you maximum flexibility, and I think it's really the way to go in this kind of 60 to 80 foot yacht. All right, let's walk around a little bit around the side. Of course, it's an Awlcraft 2000 hull. We just had this buffed and waxed. This boat just came out of the yard and had a bottom job done, full prop speed. When the owner's on board, we normally have a Marquip stair system set up here. And the Marquip stairs it's aluminum stairs, and they kind of articulate so that when the tide goes up and down, they move. We go ahead and take that off when he's not around, just because, you know, if you got really extreme tides or a bunch of wind, the whole mechanism's banging around. So we take it off when we're just storing the boat. But normally when the owner's on board, the ladder clips into here. It's a really nice platform, and you walk right up. And this Portuguese bridge entrance is really nice because I'm going right into my galley there. So if I'm loading provisions on the boat, up the stairs, right into the galley countertop. Really, really convenient. And one of the things you'll find when these yachts get bigger is these finger piers aren't always long enough to be able to get on everywhere you'd want to get on. And that's why it's nice to be flexible. I can get on a swim platform. I've got a boarding gate near the stern. I've got this boarding gate here. So I have 3 different levels, and I have lots of different lengths where I can get on to handle for pretty much any dock situation. And if you'll notice here why he's docked like this, it's really nice. So if you walk down here and look at the view, even though this is a busy marina, you know, he's not right next to a neighbor. He's got a little bit of privacy back here, even though he's in a very busy marina. All right, let's go on board. Okay, so again, you know, beautiful spot. Because I'm bowed in, if I were stern to the dock, I'd be looking at my neighbors. Back here, a lot of people ask me what this little handle's for. So this pops up and locks. This comes out, and there's a swim ladder that pops out with 4 steps. So when you're in the Bahamas, this is great. It's really easy to swim up to the boat, get out of the water, and then this handle folds out of the way. These cleats here pop up, and this is great for tying your dinghy. So you get the dinghy in the water, you're in the Bahamas, you're anchored out, got a cleat in this corner, cleat in the other corner. I tie the dinghy broadside here, take that rail out, stick it in this loop here, and I can hop on and off my dinghy very safely. So really convenient. And I really like the way the Marlows, you're close to the water here. When the grandkids want to go swimming and stuff like that, you have easy access to the water. You're not having to climb way up high. We do, typically on a Marlow, you see 2 boarding gates. So we did something interesting here. We have the stairs, so we have the symmetry, and it looks like there's 2 boarding gates, but we actually closed this one off. So normally there'd be a boarding gate there, and he's got a lot of kids and grandkids, and we gained a whole bunch of seating and a whole bunch of table space by blocking that out. So you're going to see from the cockpit how much additional seating I got because we did that. This is a transom door, and this is really great when your captain is coming and going during the day. Of course, there's another door there, but if I'm carrying in supplies and oil and I got to get my bikes in and all that stuff, this transom door is really the way you're going to get stuff in and out of the boat in the back half of the boat. I also have power port and starboard for shore power cords, and one is the 100 and one is the 50, just like in the bow. So if I were going to Ocean Reef right now, I might dock and only need the 100, and I would just get the 100 out and typically use it in the stern. And in this case, we don't bow in a lot when he's traveling, so a lot of times those shore power cords will just stay here on the dock in the bow. These are on reels. All right, let's go on up into the cockpit. So as I mentioned when we were on the swim platform, we eliminated the door that's normally here, and it let us build this big wraparound seat here, and I've got room for, gosh, another 5 chairs here. So I could certainly see 12 people here. And again, he has a big family. The idea is the kids and grandkids come, and I want to be able to hang out. We didn't want people to have to scoot all the way inside all the time. If you have a bunch of people, you got to do that. But a lot of the time, if you have less people, this centerpiece comes out. So you see the seams here. This piece just lifts right out. We've got a special storage spot on the salon floor that's padded that protects it. So if you know you've only got 5 or 6 people on the boat, we've got a way to slide in there, really works well. So again, really well thought out. This owner, you know, he's had many motor yachts. He knew exactly what he wanted, and it was really a fun project to help him build this boat. Few more things out here I want to talk about is I want you to notice how clean all this superstructure looks. This has all been painted, so this is a fully painted yacht. This is Awlcraft 2000. And this is a Chevy white. And we wanted a whiter white, you know, it's a Miami boat. The whole theme's colorful, more modern. And this is it's called Chevy white, and so it's a much whiter white than you've seen on a lot of our boats. Wanted to also mention these wing doors. So these wing doors let me block off the side deck. And when you're moving at all, there's always wind flowing through here. There's also always some engine room noise from the engine room intakes up there. When these doors are shut, it makes this a much more private, quiet area to entertain. This door right here is access for the crew to do engine room checks. So underway, you would never open the transom door. You would come and go from here, and the captain / mate have access to their quarters here, and they don't need to come into the boat. The breakers for their microwave and the breakers for their refrigerator and all their lights and everything that they need is in there. So captain and crew can come and go from here without going into the yacht. Let's go up front. Oh, before we go much further, one of the things we talked about that I thought was a great idea, he wanted a closet for all that stuff, right? Where do you put the deck brushes? Where do you put the chamois? Where do you put the buckets? Without having to bring it up and down the stairs all the time. So we built this locker. Now we took a little slice of the salon out to make this happen, but you're not going to miss it. It's a huge salon, and we really gained a lot of practical storage space. This is engine room air intake here. A lot of boats have engine room air intake. If you look at a Sportfish, it'll have these two big vents on the side. That works really well too, but it's closer to the water, and it's more likely water makes it into the engine room than if the engine room air intake is here on the side of the boat. These are those stairs I mentioned, so this is a great spot for them. They're securely locked here. There's just a pin you pull and you put them down, but really easy for the captain to get these out for the owner. My fuel fills right here. So this is that boarding door I mentioned from outside, right? So the stairs would be right here. I come in this door, go right into the galley. So we have bow seats up here. I find once the sun goes down, this becomes a really popular spot, especially when you're anchored out, because when you're anchored out, you're in the wind, into the wind, and it's always great airflow up here. Really, really a nice spot. And notice again, we painted this brow. We've got great bright work on this boat, but not too much. So this often is teak. We actually painted this at the factory to have a little less maintenance to do. So you can see up here, I've got the 50 amp cord coming in here. I've got the 100 amp cord coming in there, and dual windlasses. So these are totally separate hydraulic windlasses, really heavy duty, really nicely done. And I can run this one from the yacht controller as well. Really nice when you're anchoring to be able to stand up here with a yacht controller, back the boat up, use the bow thruster to keep the chain going out straight, and tell the anchor to go down. Really convenient. All right, let's go into the salon area. One of the challenges we have when we're building a 70, 75, 80 is that the salon starts getting pretty big. you sit there with an engineering drawing and look at the space you have to work with and how much sofa do you need. We build these big couches, and I think, you know, normally 3 adults sitting on a couch is about all you really need. It's, unless you're at a bowling alley, really adults don't sit 6 in a row. So you want conversation areas like this. So I've got 3 really wide cushions here, so 3 adults or 5 grandkids could be over there. And I've got room for another 4 adults over here. So I've got all the seating I need in this salon. And I really don't need any more seating in this salon. So we did a small desk area. We've got a TV back here. But one of the things we try to do is build a bar area or a card table or an office or something with the rest of the salon. And that's what we've done here. And I think the wide angle pictures don't do this area justice. When we use these wide angle cameras, things look good for the first 8 or 9 or 10 feet. But stuff that's 15 or 20 feet away, the proportions just get lost. But I want to assure you that as I sit in this salon, I don't want any more seating than I have. And when I show you the bar area, I wouldn't have done anything else with it. So as you saw, the seating area is huge back there, and we've built this bar area up here. And I find when you watch people interact and there's a lot of people around, they tend to break up into small groups. So what we've done here is we've built 4 really nice bar stools with a separate TV here, and my vision here is I actually like to sit here and eat breakfast. I just like sitting up on a tall stool. But Bob told me when they're entertaining, you know, it's really nice because I can have, you know, a bartender working here at a party, and people are hanging out in the salon, people are hanging out in the bar, people are hanging out in the pilot house, people are hanging out in the cockpit. So this boat's really nice when you have a large family gathering to be able to split up into small groups and have separate little defined areas. This bar area is really nice. When we first found bar stools, they were kind of stainless steel and they were a little cold looking. And we couldn't find exactly what we wanted, so we built it. There's actually a stainless steel bar stool inside this. At the factory, we wrapped all the stainless with teak, just like the rest of the yacht. Just imagine there used to be a ring in there that was stainless steel. It was a little flashy looking, and now it's just absolutely beautiful bar. A couple of things that are pretty unique about this bar area is we did a nice little oven here for hors d'oeuvres, so it's just perfect for heating up hors d'oeuvres. And I have a full-size clear ice machine here. And then across from me, we have a wine cooler, coffee machine, and this is a full-size Sub-Zero drink fridge. One of the things we found on the boats is, you know, galley space is limited, of course. If all the guests on the boat can get to their own drinks and get to their own glassware, it really frees up the galley space. And on a boat, it's really nice to have glassware that's been fitted properly. And by fitted properly, I mean that the glasses aren't just sitting on a shelf. Every glass is contained in a spot. So if I'm in rough seas or something, you know, stuff is secure, and these wine glasses will all swing together and not bang into each other. Same thing with plates and stuff. I'll show you that in a minute when we get to the galley. It's really nice to make sure that you don't have to run around putting things away. Everything has a logical spot on the boat, and everything's always put away. Actually, as we go up to the galley, let's stop and pause and look at the electrical panel real quick. So I'm not going to go into too much detail here, but here's where I said I want to get power from the bow for my house system, and I want to get power from the bow for my air conditioning system. So these switches are involved with all of that. And this shows me my power draw. So right now on the house side of the boat, I'm drawing 18 amps, and on the air conditioning, I'm drawing 41 amps. So, but this is where you turn big stuff on and off. Pretty simple panel. If I were about to go underway, I could start a generator from right here, and I would tell the house system and the air conditioning to go get its power from the generator. As most of you know, all the Marlows are custom built for an owner, so we don't build any stock boats. And one of the areas I find that people spend a lot of time getting the way they want it is the galley area. So in this case, we did a full-size Sub-Zero refrigerator like you'd have in your house, and this is all refrigerator. So refrigerator on the top, 2 refrigerator drawers. Again, large family, grandkids, need to feed a lot of people. We did the Bosch oven that she liked at her house. We bought the same one for the boat. We've got a Miele induction cooktop and a really oversized convection microwave. Another thing we did is, instead of doing the drawer dishwasher like we normally do, we did 2 units. So we have 2 separate freezer drawers. I'm sorry. We have 2 separate dishwasher drawers. So it's the equivalent of a full-size dishwasher like you would have at home with the 2 drawers. Again, custom countertops and sinks, you know, it's all the way the owner wants it. Tons of storage in this galley with a 75. It's a very beamy boat, but it's really important in a boat, again, to secure things. You don't want just a huge cabinet with a bunch of stuff flopping around. You want things with rails. You want fitted dishes. You want stuff to be able to go to sea. I mentioned earlier how, you know, you want to figure out how to store things securely. And one of the things we did is they sent us 1 dish of each thing, and we figured out how to put these teak pegs in so that all of these dishes stay put. Again, everything's divided up and stored nicely. I refer to this style yacht as a raised Pilothouse motor yacht. The reason is I've come up a couple of steps from the Salon and raised this area, and then we've taken that 1 step further and raised the seating area some more. And that's to let me easily, at eye level, when I'm sitting down, see out the windows. So I have to have these blinds shut because the sun's just blaring in here right now. I'm in Miami during the day. But when you were at sea, you would have these blinds open and you would have a 360-degree view of everything around you. And it's really nice to sit here while you're underway and see where you're going. I find that people tend to migrate to this area when underway versus being in the Salon, because everyone likes to see where you're going, not where you've been. All right, as the boats get bigger and they get wider, this is one of the rooms that really benefits greatly. As the boat goes from an 18 to a 19 to a 20-foot beam, the boat's getting fatter faster. And this becomes a more normal king bed than I would find, say, in a 66. So this is really a full king, only compromised very slightly in the corner. So this is really a nice stateroom. I've got a lot of volume in here. Again, I can get a lot of natural light. The cameras don't do well with the sun blaring in, but when I want natural light, both these hatches open. They both have screens, bug screens, so when it's nice out, I can get lots of natural ventilation. These also are big enough to act as an escape hatch. If the worst were ever happening, you could step up there and get out of the boat. So really, really nice room, lots of storage. I've got 6 drawers here, but nice big hanging lockers and a really beautiful head. Let me show you the head. So in this 75, you know, you have 3 staterooms and 3 full heads with their own stall showers. But this head also functions as a day head. So if I had guests maybe in the salon, they could access this head from here. But it's a nice big head. I used to be 6 feet tall, probably shrinking. But you can see I'm 6 feet, a little over 200, and this shower is just great. One of the things you'll notice down here when you look at the gel coat, because the theme is a more kind of modern look, and we've gone to a whiter white instead of an oyster white outside, we've done the same thing inside. The theme of this entire boat is more of a whiter white and blue versus gray. All right, let's go look at the port guest stateroom. So one of the big decisions to make when we're first laying out these boats is, am I trying to build a true 4-stateroom boat or a 3-stateroom boat? And in this case, we grabbed more of the beam here. This is more than center line, so that I can build this nice big queen in here. So this is nice for your adult children as a couple versus a couple of bunk beds. We have options to build 2 smaller bunk beds and 2 on the other side if you needed a 4-stateroom boat. But in this owner's family, they found that they would really like to have the master be theirs and 2 sets of adult children in here. And then there's plenty of room for grandkids to sleep other places. But again, this stateroom is really nice and wide. It's got its own head and shower. Because they're on this boat for months and months at a time, it was really important to be practical about things like laundry. So this is a fine bed, but we have a full-size washer and dryer here, a place for an ironing board, a place for all of the products required to do laundry, and then we put a mattress on top of it for a couple of grandkids. People ask me sometimes, why do people put a seat in the master? Well, I think it's to get away. You got a boat full of people, and you just want to close your bedroom door, sit here and read a book. Or, this is a nice little makeup area we did. So it's a great little spot. It's got a nice little makeup mirror, place for your stuff. And instead of doing the his and hers heads, again, because they're on the boat for months at a time, they really wanted a walk-in closet. So in a lot of boats, you've seen me talk about the his and hers heads. They really have stuff in here, so I don't want to do too much. But we have shelves and storage drawers and hanging rods and stuff like that in this separate walk-in closet. And again, I still have owner's gear on here. So I have 2 hanging lockers on the starboard side, 2 hanging lockers on the port side, more storage forward. So in this 75, I got tons of room. And then what we did is we offset this head. So instead of the his and hers heads being equal and that walk-in closet being as big as a head would have been, it's a little smaller. We shifted the shower over so that I could get a big countertop with 2 big sinks. And again, nice big shower. It feels very spacious in here. Of course, again, I have the shades drawn, but I have a nice port light across from me. It has a screen, so if I'm in the Exumas in January, I can open this boat up and get lots of airflow. But huge closet, really well done. And then I've got my toilet and 2 sinks. All right, we're going to go up to the command bridge, and I've got some funky shades and stuff going on because we're facing south in Miami, sun's blaring, and the camera, again, just does not do well if I have a really bright background. So I have a lot of shades and stuff on so that you can see the details inside the boat. But be assured, when you're on the boat and you're really using it, the views are amazing in this boat. One of the most important things to this owner when we were talking about this area was, he's still working. He works hard, and he wants to work from his boat. So we built a nice desk area for him. He's got everything he needs for his laptop. He's got a real printer. He's got storage, and we even did we're all trying to get away from paper, but it's a necessary evil. We've got a real file drawer with real hanging files. So he said this is the best office he's ever had. Really nice up here, and it's private. One of the things that's nice about the command bridge is, when there's family on board and stuff, and they know Grandpa's working, he's pretty separate from the rest of the boat. Let's talk about the Navionics a little bit. This is the great Garmin stuff. Really everything you'd ever need here. This has all become really easy to use. He's done a lot with cameras that's kind of unique. So if you look over here, there's my aft deck. There's my engine room, my other engine, my salon. That's the back transom door. So I can see that transom door is shut. That's my aft deck right behind me where the dinghy is. My cockpit, that's really great to make sure everyone's on the boat. And I even got one here in the galley. So it's really nice when you're running a boat to be able to make sure everybody's in their place. This boat has the C32s and a full hydraulic package. So I've got a big hydraulic bow thruster, a big hydraulic stern thruster, hydraulic windlass, and this boat's a rocket. You know, I can run it like a trawler or I can run it 25 knots, up to you. It's exceptional that, you know, at like 60% power, I'm doing like 18 knots. So I can effortlessly be on plane in the high teens. And that's, I think, the real strength of this boat with these engines, is that I don't have to run 70 or 80% to go fast. I can run 60, 65, 70% and still be on plane crossing the Gulf Stream in a reasonable amount of time. Really exceptional performance for this size boat. A lot of boats that look like this are half the speed and burn the same fuel. So I'm very efficient going fast compared to most things in this market. Another really important thing about the, you know, having an office and another living space up here and salty grandchildren in the Bahamas is having a day head up here. So really nice to have a head that I can access from outside without having to go through the whole boat. So when you have salty grand monsters, they've come into the swim platform, they know you come here, up those stairs and come here. There's also, of course, another head in the crew cabin area. Okay, now we're after the command bridge here, and again, I talked about, you know, when there's a whole bunch of people on the boat, I find they break up into little groups, and this is a great little group area. So I've got a little bar here, I've got a little drink fridge here. When my wife feels green, one of her favorite spots is right here. If someone's not feeling so great, you're in the shade, you're under cover, you have fresh air. There's a head right there. So this is really a nice spot when you're running, if you want to be outside. And I find it's much quieter sitting here than it is in the cockpit with those big engines if you're going fast. If you're going fast, I'd rather be here than there. All right, let's go look at the engine room. All right, this is what an engine room should look like from 2018. This yacht's always been kept clean. I've never seen anything out of line. Really how you want to keep a yacht. And again, with this beam, this 20.5-foot beam and these big motors, I want you to mainly see some of the access you have. I want you to follow me around this engine. I probably can't get the camera back here, but I can easily get to the front of the generator. I can get to this side of the engine. I've got hydraulic system back here. I can walk all the way around this motor. I'm going to do it right now. I'll meet you at the other side. This may not seem that important, but let me tell you, when you're the tech, it's got to work on a boat. The ability to do what I just did is really important. This right here is a hydraulic reservoir. So this 50 horsepower pump and one just like it on the other motor provide the pressure, and that's what runs your thrusters and your Naiad fins and your windlass. So full hydraulic package here. C-torque, you've seen me talk about C-torque before, but for those of you that don't know, there is no dripless shaft seal that's dripping in this boat. That is a oil-filled shaft, and it's a big shaft because 1,800 horsepower, and there is no cutlass fairing at the end. So this boat has the upgraded C-torque system, which is really nice. I also want you to notice those black carbon fiber engine beds. This is one of the first years we really learned how to do a lot of stuff with carbon fiber, and saves a bunch of weight, and that's part of why this is a 31-knot boat. Also, if you've been following my videos, you've seen me talk about the chiller system before. If you look over here, you've seen me talk about the chiller system before. If you look over here, instead of two chillers, I have 3. So again, that's why there's that 100 amp cord out there, so that when I want to really blast the AC, I can get, 7 tons air conditioning running. Also, when the boats get bigger, instead of 1 inverter, I've got 2. So that's 3,500 watt inverter. That's a 3,500 watt inverter. So now when I'm in the Bahamas on a nice day, I can run that big Sub-Zero on the batteries and not have to run the generator all the time. So as these boats get bigger, the systems get bigger, they get a little more complicated, but this is really well thought out. It's a really well laid out engine room. It's a really clean engine room. This boat's been maintained meticulously. He has amazing records. So you guys that are interested, let me know. He has a spreadsheet on every gallon of fuel he's put in this boat, where he put it in, how much he paid for it, and what the date was. So there are just exceptional records on this boat. If you're looking for a clean 75, this is a really great boat. I want to show you the crew cabin real briefly as well. And there's stuff in there, but this is real life. This is not a boat show demo, this is real life. So all these covers next to me will go on the tables that we showed you today, immediately after the closing of this video. The captain has a place to sit and be. So when it's a rainy day in the Bahamas and he's done with his duties, he's not wondering what to do with himself. So really nice to have a place to sit. I can be here on my iPad. I've got my own refrigerator. I've got my own microwave. I've got a nice big bed. I've got a nice big head. You can see we've got bicycles down here. We've got stuff down here, but this is real life. But this feels very open in here. I've got natural port lights on both sides of me. I don't feel like I'm in a dungeon. So one of the things I think is really important for you guys is you have to buy a boat where the captain's going to be happy, so you can keep a good captain. Because if you're relying on a captain, which you often are in this size range, you want a good one and you want him to be happy so he stays. I hope all this helps. This boat is available for sale, and for the foreseeable future it'll be in the Miami area, and I can get you on it pretty much any time. Just give me a call. I'm probably going to be down here every week or two, and there's a captain on this boat almost every day. So let me know if you're interested and I'll get you more details. Thank you very much.